The ocean disappeared in less than 6 minutes. At 03:17 a.m. Pacific time, satellites registered something impossible off the western coast. The water didn't evaporate, it didn't boil, it didn't explode upward in steam. It folded inward. Miles of Pacific Ocean collapsed toward a single invisible point roughly 30 miles offshore. Fishing vessels sent out fragmented distress signals before vanishing from radar. Coastal monitoring stations recorded a sudden atmospheric pressure drop so sharp it triggered tsunami warnings, except there was no wave. There was a hole. Dr. Elena Ward was in the sub-level command room beneath the Nevada array when the live feeds switched automatically. Every screen turned blue, not with error, but with reflected light. The ocean floor was exposed. For a brief moment, the world saw something no human was meant to see. Ancient trenches, ruptured tectonic scars, and a circular formation at the center of the emptiness. Perfectly symmetrical, metallic, massive. It wasn't natural. "It's not a sinkhole," Elena whispered, zooming in. "It's containment." The object beneath the sea was not rising, it was activating. Then came the signal. Every radio frequency between 3 kilohertz and 30 gigahertz spiked simultaneously. Civilian networks went silent. Military encryption failed. Even hardwired systems inside the bunker flickered. The sound that followed wasn't audio, it was structural. Concrete vibrated, glass fractured. The human inner ear translated it as a low harmonic pulse, like the hum of something too large to comprehend. People across California stepped outside at the same time, and they looked west. In the empty basin where the ocean had collapsed, the metallic structure began emitting vertical strands of light, thin, blinding beams connecting the seabed to the sky. The beams didn't scatter. They formed a grid, a precise geometric lattice expanding outward in concentric rings. Elena's assistant choked out the words no one wanted to hear. "It's mapping us." Satellite telemetry confirmed it. The lattice wasn't random. Each beam intersected with population centers: Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, Las Vegas, Phoenix. Every major city aligned within the grid. But the grid wasn't descending. It was calculating. Inside the Nevada facility, backup generators failed one by one, not due to overload, but synchronization. Systems began adjusting to match the pulse frequency radiating from the coast. "It's not invading," Elena said, eyes locked on the expanding lattice. "It's calibrating." The water flowed back smoothly, sealing the metallic structure beneath the surface as if nothing had happened, except the grid didn't vanish. It remained in the sky, barely visible now, like faint cracks in the air itself. And across the western United States, devices that had been powered off for years flickered back on. Old radios, dead satellites, abandoned defense systems, all receiving the same transmission? A countdown, and it had already started. The ocean came back, but the silence it left behind was worse. Emergency broadcasts tried to explain the event as a rare seismic phenomenon. Officials used words like anomaly and pressure displacement. None of it matched what millions had witnessed with their own eyes. Water did not behave like that. Reality did not behave like that. In the Nevada facility, the atmosphere turned electric. Backup systems were no longer failing. They were adapting. Frequencies inside the bunker were slowly aligning with the harmonic pulse still faintly echoing from the Pacific. Elena stood frozen in front of the central display. The grid in the sky had faded to something almost invisible, but the instruments could still see it. Thin geometric lines stretching across the western United States like a transparent net. The countdown was everywhere now. Old Cold War satellites that had not transmitted in decades suddenly lit up. Weather buoys in the Pacific began broadcasting structured data instead of ocean temperature. Even decommissioned military drones in desert storage facilities powered on and synchronized their internal clocks. Someone whispered that the systems were being hijacked. Elena shook her head. Hijacking implied force. This was something else. Every device appeared to accept the signal as if it had been waiting for it. As if the code matched something buried deep inside its architecture. "Show me the sequence again," she said. Her assistant enlarged the waveform. It was not random. It was layered and recursive. Beneath the audible harmonic pulse existed a second quieter structure, and beneath that another, each layer more complex than the last. "It is not a message," he said slowly. "It is a key." Across California, people reported strange sensations. Smartphones vibrated even when powered down. Streetlights flickered in synchronized patterns. Traffic cameras turned west in perfect unison. In Los Angeles, the power grid momentarily synchronized with the offshore frequency. Transformers did not explode. They stabilized. Voltage fluctuations across the state dropped to near zero. For a brief moment, the electrical network operated at impossible efficiency. The grid in the sky pulsed once. Every synchronized device displayed the same number. 5 hours, 22 minutes. No explanation, no language, just time. Inside the bunker, a deeper fear began to spread. If this thing could align. Project Harbinger. 30 years ago, researchers detected a repeating signal pattern beneath background cosmic radiation. It appeared artificial but too weak to decode. The project was shut down when funding disappeared and the data classified. The waveform on the current screen matched it perfectly. The ocean had not revealed something new. It had awakened something old. Elena leaned back slowly, her pulse matching the rhythm of the faint harmonic tone still vibrating through the structure of the bunker. "It is not mapping us," she said quietly. "It is returning to finish the calibration." Project Harbinger was never supposed to leave the archive. Elena forced the encrypted folders open one by one. Grainy scans, analog printouts, handwritten notes from physicists long retired or long dead. The original team had detected the signal buried beneath cosmic background radiation, a faint repeating structure cycling every 11 years. The pattern was dismissed as interference, then it repeated. Exactly. The last entry from the lead scientist ended abruptly. "It is not noise, it is infrastructure." Elena felt her throat tighten. The current offshore lattice was not an invasion, it was phase 2. "Show me historical oceanic disturbances along the Pacific Trench," she ordered. Her assistant ran the overlay. Data points flashed across decades, small magnetic irregularities, subtle gravitational distortions, unexplained marine disappearances. Every 11 years, the Pacific floor had registered micro-events far below public detection thresholds. It had been assembling something. The metallic structure revealed beneath the vanished ocean was not constructed in a day. It had grown beneath pressure and darkness for generations. 5 hours, 12 minutes. The countdown continued everywhere. Billboards glitched and displayed only the timer. Air traffic control systems reported intermittent coordinate recalculations that gently adjusted flight paths westward without pilot input. In Seattle, a retired naval communication tower powered itself and rotated toward the horizon. In Arizona, solar farms shifted panel orientation despite locked mechanical mounts. Infrastructure was not being overridden. It was being synchronized. Elena isolated the deeper layer beneath the harmonic pulse. When converted into visual form, it resembled a three-dimensional blueprint. Rotational. Planetary scale. Her assistant stared at it in disbelief. "It is Earth, not a map of Earth. A model of Earth with nodal connection points across tectonic boundaries and electromagnetic corridors." The offshore structure was only one node. "How many more?" she asked. The data scan froze the room. 7. 6 additional coordinates appeared around the globe, positioned along oceanic trenches and polar convergence zones. "If each location activates in sequence, the resonance will overlap," he said quietly. And when resonance overlaps at planetary scale, structural physics changes. Elena understood what that meant. Gravity fluctuations would no longer be subtle. Atmosphere would not merely stabilize. The planet itself would enter harmonic lock with whatever network had been waiting beneath it. On the western horizon, cameras captured a faint brightening under the water surface miles offshore. The metallic structure was no longer dormant. Someone somewhere had designed humanity's technology to recognize this moment. Elena closed the archive file and looked at the blueprint rotating slowly on the central display. This was never about destroying us. It was about upgrading the planet. And the timer was accelerating. Gravity did not collapse, it recalibrated. 4 hours, 36 minutes. The first measurable shift registered in the Andes seismic grid. Not an earthquake. A phase alignment. Tectonic plates did not grind or fracture. They locked more tightly together as if tension that had existed for centuries suddenly released. Instruments across South America reported lower micro-tremor activity than any recorded year. Elena stared at the incoming stream of planetary data. "It is stabilizing shear stress," she whispered. Across the Pacific, the submerged structure brightened again. Its metallic framework no longer resembled a foreign construct. Now it looked integrated, embedded within bedrock like a spinal implant fused into a living organism. Activate full-spectrum atmospheric scan, she ordered. Upper atmosphere ion density began redistributing in smooth waves circling the globe. Aurora patterns intensified over both poles despite no major solar flare activity. Satellites detected a shift in radiation filtering efficiency. Harmful cosmic particles were being deflected at slightly higher rates. It is reinforcing the magnetosphere, her assistant said. 3 hours 58 minutes. Meanwhile, human systems continued aligning. Power grids reduced overload variance. Traffic algorithms optimized without new input. Even financial markets stabilized, volatility dropping as if fear itself had lost traction. But the deeper anomaly had not yet triggered. Elena zoomed into one of the newly revealed nodes located beneath the Arctic ice shelf. Thermal imaging revealed a similar lattice awakening under kilometers of frozen ocean. 7 nodes total. She ran a planetary simulation overlaying resonance timing. If all 7 entered phase lock simultaneously, the harmonic wave would propagate through the mantle and outer core. What happens to us, she asked quietly. Her assistant did not answer immediately. If resonance modifies gravitational consistency at planetary level, then human physiology may experience adaptation. Minor at first. Cellular. Neurological synchronization, perhaps. Like evolution accelerated. 3 hours 21 minutes. On live feeds from major cities, people reported strange calmness. Panic from earlier broadcasts had faded. Social networks filled with posts describing a sense of pressure in the chest that was not pain but awareness, as if something immense beneath them was breathing. Then the first communication event occurred. Deep space arrays detected a return echo, not from distant stars, from Earth orbit. A thin filament of structured signal extended outward from the planet's exosphere. We are transmitting, Elena realized. The planetary lattice was not just stabilizing Earth. It was announcing synchronization complete phase 1, 2 hours 50 minutes. The blueprint on the central display updated. 7 nodes were no longer isolated. They were connected. And a new counter appeared below the original timer. Initialization phase 2 pending. 2 hours 32 minutes. Elena noticed it first in the medical data feeds. Hospitals across 3 continents were reporting subtle anomalies. Not deaths, not injuries, improvements. Patients with chronic inflammation showed sudden reduction in biomarkers. Cardiac irregularities corrected themselves without intervention. Neural scans from epilepsy wards displayed decreased erratic firing. This is impossible, her assistant muttered. Elena pulled up genomic sampling databases. Ongoing long-term population studies had real-time data streaming in. A faint uniform fluctuation appeared in telomere degradation rates. Cellular aging had slowed by a measurable fraction of a percent within hours. The resonance was reaching biological systems. Outside the bunker, global communications had shifted tone. Governments stopped speaking in emergency language. Instead, brief statements appeared across networks describing ongoing atmospheric stabilization and infrastructure resilience. They were not lying anymore. They were observing the same truth. The ocean node pulsed again. This time, every satellite above the Pacific adjusted orbit by a fraction of a degree, as if compensating for a minor gravitational variance. Elena felt it personally then, a subtle pressure behind her eyes. Not pain, alignment. Her thoughts felt clearer. Background anxiety she had carried for years seemed distant and small. 2 hours 5 minutes. She brought up seismic modeling once more. The overlapping harmonic waves from all 7 nodes were beginning to intersect beneath the planetary core. Not violently, elegantly. Her assistant spoke slowly. If outer core rotation stabilizes even marginally, Earth magnetic drift could halt. Pole reversal events delayed by millennia. Climate variance dampened. Elena zoomed out to a full planetary projection. Earth no longer looked fragile on the screen. It looked structured, engineered. As if the chaos humanity blamed for natural disaster had always been temporary instability waiting for correction. 1 hour 47 minutes. Emergency alert systems around the world triggered simultaneously but without alarm tones. Instead, a single message appeared in dozens of languages. Global synchronization event in progress, remain calm. Elena realized something else. The signal pattern embedded within the harmonic lattice had changed frequency slightly. It now mirrored neural oscillation ranges found in human brain activity. It is tuning to us, she said. Or we are tuning to it, her assistant replied. Above the Arctic, the second node activated fully. Ice shelf fractures sealed as internal temperature balanced. The structure beneath glowed through kilometers of darkness, a silent star under frozen water. 1 hour, 26 minutes. The signal was not a beacon of distress, it was a confirmation. Phase 2 would not destroy civilization, it would integrate it. The timer continued counting down, and for the first time since the signal emerged, Elena was no longer afraid. 1 hour, 12 minutes. The sky changed before anyone officially announced it, not in color, in texture. High above the atmosphere, satellites recorded a tightening in orbital stability. Micro-corrections that spacecraft constantly performed simply stopped. Objects moved as if gliding along invisible tracks. The planet's gravitational field had smoothed. Elena watched global navigation drift fall to near zero. "That is impossible," her assistant breathed. "There is always fluctuation." "Not anymore," she replied. Across coastal cities, the ocean surface flattened in unnatural symmetry. Tides continued, but chaotic cross-currents faded. Long-standing storm systems over the Pacific weakened without dispersing violently. It was as if the atmosphere had been tuned like an instrument pulled into pitch. 59 minutes. The 7 nodes brightened in synchronized cadence, no longer separate pulses, a single planetary heartbeat. Deep beneath them, the mantle resonance reached convergence. Seismic graphs displayed perfect wave coherence spiraling toward the core. Then the unexpected variable appeared. Human neural networks spiked. Global brainwave monitoring from medical institutes showed a brief synchronized fluctuation across millions of individuals. Not mind control, not compulsion. A shared phase alignment lasting less than 3 seconds. Elena felt it again. That internal pressure, but stronger now. A widening clarity. As if background mental static had been filtered out. Memories surfaced sharper, patterns connected faster, fear responses dulled. 43 minutes. Cities did not descend into chaos. People stepped outside. Across continents, millions looked upward at a sky that seemed slightly deeper, stars faintly more visible even before sunset. Social feeds filled with identical descriptions. "It feels like something is arriving." But nothing descended. Instead, the return signal from Earth intensified. The filament extending from the exosphere widened into a faint, luminous arc visible only to sensitive instruments. "We are broadcasting full synchronization," her assistant said. "To who?" Before he could answer, deep space arrays captured a structured reply. Not words, not sound. A geometric packet of information folding into itself. Confirmation acknowledged. 31 minutes. Energy demand across Earth dropped simultaneously. Power plants reported decreased consumption despite no reduction in activity. Infrastructure was operating more efficiently under the new harmonic constant. The lattice beneath the Pacific flared to maximum luminosity. The other 6 answered. 7 points became 1 field. Elena's display shifted automatically to a full planetary render. There was no explosion, no shockwave, only a silence so absolute it felt sacred. Then the grid settled beneath visibility, gravity steady, atmosphere balanced. Magnetic drift halted, and somewhere beyond the solar system, something ancient registered a single completed event. Earth, online. 0 did not mean finished. It meant transition. For 3 full seconds after the timer vanished, nothing measurable changed. Instruments remained steady, seismic graphs smooth, atmospheric readings stable. Even human biometrics plateaued. Then the secondary counter appeared. Integration depth, 1%. Elena felt the room shift in mood, though the air itself remained calm. Screens that had been displaying planetary data began rerouting to biological overlays by default. As if the system now prioritized life over structure, global cognitive variance narrowed, not individuality, noise. Across universities, synchronized experiments confirmed it. Test subjects solved complex pattern recognition sequences faster without increased strain. Reaction latency dropped. Emotional regulation metrics stabilized. Project Harbinger had predicted planetary reinforcement. It had never predicted this. Integration depth, 3%. In Tokyo, São Paulo, Lagos, Vancouver, millions reported vivid sensory clarity. Colors appeared slightly more saturated. Sounds crisper but less overwhelming. Chronic migraines eased. Panic disorders quieted. Elena accessed satellite imaging again. The faint luminous grid was no longer visible externally, but magnetic field maps revealed precision beyond anything recorded in human history. Solar wind pressure struck the magnetosphere and flowed around it like water around polished stone. No turbulence, 7%. The deep space arrays activated autonomously once more. Incoming data now contained layered structures too complex for immediate decryption, not instructions, not commands. Archives. Her assistant leaned forward. It is sending information through resonance, not language. Direct pattern encoding. Into what system, she asked. He looked at her. Into us. 15%. Neural imaging labs worldwide recorded something extraordinary. Brain hemispheres displayed improved synchronization. Dormant neural pathways showed measurable electrical activation. Not forced, enabled. Human cognition was not being replaced. It was being expanded. 22%. Ocean currents realigned subtly, reducing temperature extremes between hemispheres. Storm formation probability models adjusted downward. Agricultural prediction systems recalculated yields upward. Food security projections increased globally within minutes. 30%. Elena felt the pressure behind her eyes intensify one last time, then dissolve completely. Thoughts no longer felt fragmented. Problems that once required layered analysis seemed to unfold transparently in her mind. She accessed the archive packet streaming through deep space arrays. Visual representation formed, a lattice identical to the planetary grid, but extending far beyond, touching distant stars. This was a network. Earth had not been upgraded randomly. It had been prepared as a node. For the first time in recorded history, the planet and its dominant species were operating in phase. Not controlled, not conquered, connected. Integration depth, 73%. The rise slowed to a crawl, as if the system itself respected biological limits. Unlike the planetary synchronization, this phase felt intimate, personal. Elena monitored global neural analytics. The sharp acceleration seen at 50% had softened into steady enhancement. No overload, no collapse, just quiet expansion. In New York, a blind patient reported faint perception of light for the first time in years. In rural India, damaged crop zones showed accelerated soil recovery. Antarctic research stations recorded stabilized ice microfractures, 75%. The network beyond Earth pulsed once, softer than before. Not sending new archives now. Waiting. Human sleep cycles shifted worldwide. REM patterns deepened. Dreams became unusually coherent. Psychologists described shared symbolic themes across cultures. Bridges, oceans, latticework in the sky. Not control, synchrony. 78%. Elena ran a social aggression index scan. Violent incident reports had declined sharply, but not because of suppression. Emotional spikes still occurred, yet they resolved faster. Conflict without escalation. The assistant zoomed into planetary field stability. Resonance is holding perfectly. No strain on the mantle, no atmospheric distortion. 80%. Power grids operated at record efficiency. Renewable energy yields increased slightly without hardware change. Communication latency between continents dropped by milliseconds beyond physical expectation. Subtle but measurable. 82%. Elena stepped outside the bunker for the first time since zero. The sky looked normal, blue fading into evening gold. Yet there was depth to it, like clarity after a storm that never happened. She inhaled. The air felt lighter, not thinner, balanced. 85%. Her neural interface pinged quietly. A new overlay option appeared without installation. External network access, pending human initiation. She hesitated. This was the line. Earth was online. Humanity was nearly aligned, but connection to the greater lattice required consent. 87%. Around the world, others received similar prompts through research devices, satellites, private neural tech, even experimental medical implants. No force, only invitation. 89%. Elena looked back at the horizon where the Pacific shimmered calmly, hiding the first awakened node beneath miles of water. We are not being absorbed, she realized. We are being asked. 90%. The integration depth paused there. Stable. Waiting for the species to decide its next evolution. And for the first time, the future was not counting down. It was open. 90% held. For 12 full minutes, the integration depth indicator did not move. No warning. No escalation. The planetary field remained stable, magnetosphere smooth, mantle resonance balanced. Waiting, Elena returned inside as global feeds displayed the same message appearing across advanced research networks, satellites, deep space arrays, and emerging neural interfaces. External network access, consent required. No countdown, no pressure. Across continents, scientists, engineers, physicians, and ordinary citizens stared at identical prompts delivered through different mediums. Some saw it on experimental headsets, others on observatory terminals. A few reported seeing the words form briefly in peripheral vision before fading. It was not invasive. It was adaptive. 91% flickered, then stabilized again. Minor voluntary engagements had begun. Small research groups authorized limited handshake protocols. The response was immediate but controlled. Data flowed in structured harmonic packets, too vast for conventional storage yet effortlessly mapped onto human cognition. Not overwhelming, expandable. Elena authorized a restricted interface channel. Her console dissolved into layered geometry, not symbols, concepts. Stellar cartography intertwined with energy topology, showing nodes scattered across neighboring star systems. Earth was one of many, not central, not primitive, emergent. 93%. The first global effect manifested in education grids. Students connected to experimental neural platforms demonstrated rapid comprehension of abstract mathematics without traditional step progression. Solutions appeared as spatial intuition rather than calculation. Medical research teams reported instantaneous cross-discipline pattern alignment. Cancer modeling simulations converged faster than supercomputers had ever allowed, 95%. Consent rates climbed, not through coercion, but curiosity. Each region chose independently. Democracies debated openly. Even closed regimes hesitated, then cautiously permitted limited integration when infrastructure stability proved undeniable. No nation could claim ownership. The network did not recognize borders. 97%. Elena felt it before she saw the shift. A gentle widening in perception, like stepping back from a painting and seeing hidden structure emerge. The external network access field brightened. Handshake sequence stabilized. Beyond the solar system, multiple distant nodes pulsed in acknowledgement. Not celebration, recognition. 98%. Ocean currents adjusted again, distributing heat with mathematical precision. A new designation appeared across every connected interface. Earth node active, autonomous participant. The network beyond did not pull them forward. It expanded to include them. And for the first time in cosmic history, humanity was not observing the universe from isolation. It was part of its architecture. There was no triumph, only awareness. Hours after Earth node active appeared, the planet remained calm. No catastrophic transformation, no visible ships in the sky. Traffic still moved, cities still hummed, oceans still breathed against their shores. But underneath it all, alignment. Elena noticed the first structural upgrade in scientific instrumentation. Particle accelerators running routine calibration began detecting background field coherence previously categorized as random quantum fluctuation. It was not random. It was connective. Microscopic interactions now exhibited faint harmonic correlation with the planetary field. Matter itself behaved with slightly improved stability margins. Decay variance narrowed. Chaos constants softened. The assistant whispered almost reverently, "We are reducing entropy locally. Not breaking physics, optimizing it." Across global agriculture systems, crop modeling projections updated again. Not explosive growth, sustainable efficiency. Soil microbiomes showed synchronized resilience. Ocean plankton reproduction stabilized at optimal carbon processing thresholds. The planet was not overproducing. It was balancing. In space, satellites reported a subtle but measurable shielding effect beyond Earth's magnetosphere. A faint envelope extending farther than expected. Radiation exposure in low orbit dropped by a small percentage. Earth was projecting stability outward. 24 hours post-integration, the first interstellar data stream arrived clearly structured for human comprehension. Not language, a solved problem set embedded in harmonic geometry. Fusion confinement refinement. Zero-point vacuum stabilization modeling. Energy extraction without ecological disruption. No instructions on how to build weapons. No hierarchy, just knowledge calibrated to a species capable of ethical threshold. Elena accessed the packet slowly, feeling its scale. This was not a gift meant to dominate civilization overnight. It was a curriculum. Across global governance networks, something even more profound unfolded. Predictive models for conflict resolution gained extraordinary accuracy. Decisions informed by enhanced cognition began favoring long-term planetary equilibrium rather than short-term dominance. Markets shifted from extraction logic to regenerative strategy within days. Resistance existed, of course, pockets of fear, groups unwilling to connect, and the network did not override them. Their regions remained fully functional but unlinked. Autonomy preserved. Weeks passed. Weather volatility decreased. Infrastructure losses from natural disaster dropped significantly. Medical breakthroughs accelerated, not through miracles but through clarity. Researchers seeing connections previously obscured by cognitive noise. Elena often returned to the Pacific coast where the first node had awakened. What kind of participant would it choose to be? The sky above remained vast and silent, but it was no longer empty. It was connected,